Clinton added, and I want to quote her, "Posting something on Facebook is not in and of itself evidence." And that was her way of saying, you know, that email that we said about Ansar al-Sharia, that was off a Facebook posting. Of course, as you just heard, our Suzanne Kelly is reporting the reason the suspect in Tunisia is in custody is because of information he posted on Facebook and other social media websites. General Wesley Clark is the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Jason Chaffetz is a Republican member of the House Oversight Committee, and they're both out front. And appreciate you're both taking the time. Congressman, let me start with you about the statement from Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She appeared to chuckle a little bit as she talked about an independent review. She said, we're not cherry picking. Obviously, that's become a very politicized term over the past month. Do you think the administration cherry picked? The more and more you hear, the more cloudy and uncertain the situation was, conflicting data. Do you still think they cherry picked?
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as this happened, they were very swift and very definitive in saying this all had to do with this mob gone wild because of a video. They didn't talk about terrorism as a possibility here. They went on and on and on to sell the American people and the world this story that a video was the genesis. Let's pretend that a video was part of it. But let's ignore the idea that maybe terrorism was part of it. You have Ansar al-Sharia laying claim to this while the attack is going on. In fact, it goes on for hours more. None of that is ever mentioned. That's where the American people, I think, feel like they've been misled.
General Clark, what's your response to that? Also, of course, as CNN's reported, there were calls intercepted from members of that militia talking about how to handle an attack, claim responsibility for an attack. You know, we've known that this has happened, but how do you make sense of this?
Confused situation, lots of reporting. Some of it's been released, some of it hasn't been released. You have to, when you're in a situation like this, you're not sure there wasn't a demonstration in the first place. It looked a lot like it might be the same thing that had just happened in Cairo, but these people had weapons. Couldn't tell what it was. Just because somebody claims responsibility for it doesn't mean they did it. Right. Because almost every incident, every terrorism incident in the Middle East, someone always tries to take credit for it. When a helicopter fails for mechanical reasons, supposedly it was shot down. Often it isn't.
Right.
And so you have to just do a thorough investigation and get the facts out.
What about what seems to be just a little bit jarring because it happened today? You know, the third email came out and the subject line said Ansar al-Sharia claims responsibility. And you have an interesting point on that. Jay Carney, spokesperson for the president, said, well, just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean it's evidence. The same day, I mean, that's what Hillary Clinton's saying. But meanwhile, the guy that we have in custody, we only have him because of evidence on Facebook.
Yeah, but, you know, he posted. We want to know why he posted it. Why did he think there was a connection? Why was he trying to dictate connection? I mean, maybe they were planning something else. Maybe he did some other act of terrorism. You know, there's a network of these people that do have communications with each other internationally. They work on Facebook. They're probably circling around. We know Mali is an area where there's not a lot of lawlessness. So every person we can detain that's part of this is a good thing for us, and we'll get information from it. But the most important point is this. When you start in the public affairs business, that's peripheral. What's really important is what the president did. He immediately reinforced security. He sent the military there. He called international leaders and told them to fulfill their responsibilities.
No, he didn't. General, with all due respect, he did not send the military. He did not send the military. He did not send the military into Benghazi.
No, not into Benghazi.
General, he did not send the military into Benghazi.
He deployed a ship.
Ships.
Yes.
Those ships had special assets on them.
No,
those
General.
ships can take.
No,
those
General.
ships can take.
You're misinformed.
All right, but hold on, General. Let me ask you this question though, because separate from the point of what happened on that day.
Erin,
what about in the days before? Hold on, Congressman. Let me just ask the General this. What about in the days before when Ambassador Stevens had requested additional security and given it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and the State Department's going to have to answer for that. But that's not.
Erin,
that's not the policy question. In other words, when 9/11 happened, America pulled together. But there wasn't a presidential election. But Democrats supported a Republican president. When this happened, the Republican partisan machine decided they'd found a chink in President Obama's excellent foreign policy and has gone full bore to exploit it for partisan advantage. So it's not to say
Erin,
that we can't get to the facts. It's to say it's hard to get through the partisanship to get to the facts.
All right, Congressman, why don't you respond to that? Because it is true that there are some real questions here about information that they had in intelligence or in the administration, and when that information became available publicly.
It should be bipartisan outrage, because in April 2012, our embassy was bombed, that consulate at Benghazi. And on June 6th, a terrorist activity there in Benghazi at our consulate breached the wall. They blew our wall apart. And the president, the vice president, the secretary of state diminished our security profile. That's what's outrageous. General, with all due respect, you've been out there touting the response by the president to and what he's done. What he didn't do, what he clearly didn't do, is react when we were bombed on June 6th. 5 days later, the British ambassador had an assassination attempt. The British got out of town. The interior minister in Libya on September 1st issues a warning and says, we've lost the control of eastern Libya. They put him on high alert. Ambassador Stevens sends a cable back to Washington, D.C. on September 4th, and this administration did nothing. We have 4 dead Americans. And with all due respect, he did not send in the military into Benghazi. That firefight went on for hours, and I think it's an untold, that's a real question about what this administration did. Firefights started.
Excuse me,
but
I am
should have been dealing with it back in June 6th.
Okay, Congressman,
we don't know exactly what was done back on June 6th, because that hasn't been made a matter of public
yes,
record.
Yes, we do.
I'm sorry,
General,
I don't know that because I haven't seen it. And I haven't seen that.
We had a hearing
and I don't know that we've had all the classified information released that's come out, whether you had a hearing or not. Maybe you had a classified hearing. I haven't seen it. But I do know this.
It was an open public meeting.
Okay, I do know this. I do know the administration, the ship was, a naval ship was deployed in the area. I know what the capabilities are on that ship, and that was sent there to reinforce the diplomatic security. I'm not going to address what happened in June. I wasn't there in that hearing.
But
I know what happened in the aftermath of the incident.
The FBI couldn't get in for weeks.
That's true.
The FBI couldn't get in for weeks.
But there was security there.
You had the CNN reporter go pick up the material. We didn't go in and do that.
That was an FBI investigation team. That wasn't
CNN
the team
walked
that
in and
went
picked
in
up
there
the
right
diary
away.
days afterwards.
CNN did, right? And that was because the FBI didn't feel that there was security to come in there. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. We appreciate your taking the time and sharing your point of view. Obviously, a crucial issue for the country right now. And out front next, a change to our